So a couple weeks back, I grabbed one of those super cheap at the time for deal HP Envy gaming computers. That was $499 right after Thanksgiving and Black Friday. I wanted to give it a try, give you some tests on the GTX 1650 that it's in that specific configuration, and show some results how good is actually that computer combined with the i5 9400 and 8 gigabytes of RAM. I added later one more stick to make it 16. You're gonna see that throughout the tests. So I ran several different games, some more modern, some a little bit more older, I guess. But you guys gonna see PUBG, you're gonna see Tomb Raider, the latest edition. You're gonna see the Far Cry New Dawn, a couple other ones. Spoiler alert, I am pretty impressed with what you get for that price, $499. So stay tuned for these tests. Let's go right into them. All right, the first thing we're gonna look at is the Tomb Raider, the latest edition of the game with the built-in test or benchmark. Kind of convenient. I like games that have built benchmarks so we can check some of the results and compare them to other people with similar hardware or not. Look at the settings. Pretty much the only thing I'm removing is the motion blur, and everything else I'm leaving as is. I'm gonna run the benchmark right now. You can see the settings, 1080p. Everything is by default the way it shows up right off the bat. Some things are on high, some things are on normal, but this is exactly how the game offers me to start from the beginning when I install it. And quite impressive, to be honest with you guys. I was not expecting this kind of performance from GTX 1650. A lot of people were bashing this card and saying how bad it is and it shouldn't exist. But honestly, if you're getting it on a pre-built configuration like this, it's not a bad card. Now, if you're gonna have to buy it yourself, go out there and spend close to $200 for this card, I would definitely advise against. But if you're getting it in the pre-built configuration and you don't mind sticking out with it for a while in order to get some more money, sell it further down the road and get something better. I mean, for this specific configuration, I am definitely recommending something like 1660 Super or 1660 Ti, which I am going to test with and show you the results with it with the exact same CPU, memory and everything else. The only thing that we are going to change is going to be the GPU. I'm going to try to fit anything possible that can fit in that case and anything possible that can be supported by this power supply. But I think, again, ideally I will stick with 1660 Super or 1660 Ti, depending on the price you can get it. Pretty respectable results, as you can see. Average 55 FPS, not bad at all. Again, this is GTX 1650, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. Next to is the Unigen Super Propulsion, the latest benchmark from Unigen. I really like this one because it's absolutely isolating the CPU from the equation, and basically the only thing that it's getting stressed is the GPU to the maximum possible. You'll see that the GPU hovers around 99%, 100%, and the CPU is just barely there, below 20%, sometimes even below 10%. So this one really helps isolating anything else relative and keeps the GPU stressed out to the max. So this is kind of good thing for us to compare later on when we add better video cards and see how exactly they perform with the same hardware and how much more points we can get with those cards. And you can see we have 4,523 points here. Not bad for what you are paying and what you are getting right off the bat. Not bad at all. Next thing is Far Cry New Dawn. First thing I'm gonna run is normal with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and throughout these settings you will see I'm adding 16 gigabytes as well to see if there's any difference. But spoiler alert, Not as drastic as I was expecting. I really was expecting a lot bigger difference when adding a second stick of 8 gigabytes of RAM, making them 16, running a dual channel. But again, I am really very impressed with the performance of the GTX 1650. I was expecting a lot worse, watching other reviews, reading and seeing what people are saying about this card. Not as bad. I'm sorry to say it for those that really bash that card, but not as bad at all. Again, 4 gigabytes of RAM, good enough for 1080p gaming, medium to high. All these results really show up that that card is not bad. Yep, ideally I would like to have more FPS, and I also enjoy more FPS as everybody else, but if you're getting this configuration and if you don't have enough money at the moment and you want to hold on for a little bit, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this one. And again, further down the line, you always can sell it for about $100. You can see average FPS here. We have 58 on normal. That's not bad at all. Again, the next thing will be to run the same test with high settings. Far Cry New Dawn again, high settings, everything else remains the same, and we'll see what kind of results we can get. But again, 1650, this specific one is made for HP by Foxconn. It's not made by any of the major known retailer, well, not retailer, but major known companies that a lot of you guys are used to seeing. MSI, Asus, Gigabyte, none of those. I guess it was just a special order from HP to Foxconn to be produced. I like how the card even looks. I think with the little shroud and the bigger fan, very quiet, is much better than some other revisions I've seen on pre-built systems like Alienware and Dell. Not bad. Tiny little card that actually performs better than top level GPUs from a couple years ago, like GTX 780 or 780 Ti, which were power hogs, giant cards, and now we have this tiny little thing that only draws 75 watts from the PCI Express slot, no external power. So again, for this card is perfect for people that are building sleeper computers. What do we have on high? 54 FPS, not bad at all, very respectful. Again, adding 16 gigabytes of RAM, we'll see how the difference it's going to be. But again, I noticed very little differences with adding this second stick. Back to the 1650, like I mentioned, if you grab one of those somehow on deal, I'm sure a lot of people will be selling those further down the line if they get that HP configuration or some other ones. When they upgrade further down the line, they are going to be selling it on eBay or Letgo, whatever is available around you. I think you'll be able to either sell it for around $100 or buy it around $100. And if you're planning to build a sleeper desktop, something in the office, Optiplex, Dell Optiplex, put that card inside. No additional power is required. There you go. You get yourself a perfect little gaming computer in the office that nobody's expecting that is a gaming computer. So not as bad as people are claiming to be this little card. I'm definitely impressed. Running pretty cool, pretty quiet. Didn't peak the noise a lot. I couldn't hear it at all outside of the box. And now we have 58. So pretty much the same. Not a big difference. As you noticed, the FPS did not increase dramatically. Next thing is Metro Last Light, the Redux. This I know it's not a brand new game, or it's not the latest Metro edition, but still it's pretty stressing some of the video cards. Not a problem for the 1650, obviously. As you can see, the FPS is hovering around 75, between 60 and 75. So definitely getting above 60 FPS with everything on high, ultra high, where the maximum settings available for that game. I really am impressed. A lot of people will say, well, this card is the bottom of the line, it should not be there. But again, if you are getting it in this pre-built system, you're not going to be very disappointed. At least at the beginning, play with it, sell it further down the line, get yourself something better. So let's look at some of those tests now. With Metro, we don't have a built-in benchmark, so you can see the FPS is hovering, like I said, between 65 and now 80, 85. So very, very good numbers, and clearly, judging by the percentage, you can see that the bottleneck here, I'm adding 16 gigabytes of RAM, by the way. You will see that the bottleneck here is actually the graphics card. The CPU barely peaks over 35-40%, and the graphics card is at 98, 99. So clearly we have a lot of room to squeeze out of the CPU. The i5-9400, it's very, very respectful little CPU from these days. It's a 6-core CPU from Intel. Again, not bad at all. You know, a couple years ago, the CPU would have been a lot more money, but now you're getting in these pretty fine configurations, and it's doing pretty well in the games. Not getting a lot of stress, as you can see. 30-40% on the CPU, where the GPU is maxed. So I'm curious when I add some of the other cards, 1660 Super or 1660 Ti, how is that going to get balanced? Again, my expectations is going to be a lot better for the GPU and the CPU to work in tandem, and we're going to get much better FPS, especially on some of the more advanced and more demanding games. Obviously, even maxed out at 97-98%, the 1660 is not really working that hard with the Metro Lite. Now PUBG, we're gonna do PUBG at 8 gigabytes of RAM, medium quality. A lot of settings, well, most of the settings are medium, just a few on low. That pretty much a lot of people that play PUBG will do exactly the same settings. Minimize the foliage and all that stuff, so you can have a better view on players. And again, here I'm impressed again. You know, PUBG is notoriously unoptimized game and behaves weirdly even at the highest and most expensive video cards. I play PUBG on a computer that's with 1080 Ti and another one with 1080, and still I see plenty of you know, frame drops and crazy unexplained things when it comes to graphics performance, because they still have plenty to work on optimizing that game. But with GTX 1650, not bad at all. Again, as you can see, the FPS is hovering between 60 and 75, even 80, sometimes above 80 FPS, which it's nothing to be ashamed of, considering what kind of hardware we're talking about here, and how much less powerful the 1650 is compared to, you know, anything above it, basically. But yeah, PUBG is working pretty well, and I can definitely say that it's playable, especially with these settings. You don't have to go, you know, all the way down to low or anything like that. Medium, it's pretty nice. It's good for playing. It's above 60 frames. So again, until the potential future upgrade, you're not gonna have a problem with that game. You can aim, you can shoot, and have fun with it. Same settings, adding the second 8 gigabyte stick. Now we have 16 of that DDR4 266 megahertz RAM, and slight difference in the FPS, maybe a couple FPS more. By the way, keep in mind all that is recorded with the built-in nVidia Experience tool, so you definitely have a couple of frames drops because of that. I'm not using an external recording device, which would have been ideal to represent one-to-one what kind of frames we're getting. When you use some of those built-in tools, nVidia or AMD, you're still going to lose a couple frames, and as much as they optimize it these days, you're still going to have a couple of frames drops. So whatever the results are, keep in mind that you can add a couple more and look exactly how it's going to look realistically. But again, I have something above 70 and 80, so not bad at all. Next thing we have Rage 2. As you can see the settings. This is a game that's running on Vulkan API and not direct HIX 12 or 11. Pretty much everything on high and ultra, the way the game actually offered me. First run is going to be with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and later on I'm going to add the 16 again. Opening scene, I'm going to try to do exactly the same run with both 8 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Nothing else is changed at all, just adding more RAM, and that's it. Everything else is by default, the way the game is and the way the computer is. No overclocks, everything is stock and default again. I'm putting it on default so everybody can kind of get a base benchmark on what you can expect if you're just buying this computer right now and you just want to play with it without anything fancy, without anything overclocking, which I think most of the people that are buying these kind of configurations, they are going to expect to open it, plug it in, install it, and just off they go, start playing without messing around too much. Again, very respectable numbers. GTX 1650 delivers here, even with Rage 2, even with Vulkan API. You know, obviously the AMD cards are a little bit better, well, at least most of them, with the Vulkan API, but still nVidia with these drivers and GTX 1650 is delivering FPS around 60, sometimes a little bit under, sometimes a little bit over, but that's why I'm trying to do this first run where there's a lot of NPCs, a lot of action, a lot of fire, a lot of stuff going on the screen, so we can get a perspective for what we can expect from the card, but nothing significantly laggy. We don't have like super dropped frames. Again, very impressed with that little 1650 beast. And again, just thinking a couple years ago, similar FPS and similar performance, you will have to buy the top level graphics card, 780 or 780 Ti. I would probably go to the extent even compared to 980 maybe. And now this is super power efficient and small form factor that barely delivers any heat or noise. So impressive, even with Rage 2, even with Vulkan. I am impressed. I guess that's the word of the day. Next run with the Rage 2, the only changes here are going to be adding my 16 gigabytes of RAM. Everything else is the same. On the settings, we have a mixture of high and ultra. This is exactly what the game offered me. I didn't change anything else other than obviously removing the G-Sync, the V-Sync, so we'll get some more FPS, and again, not a massive difference in FPS between the 8 and 16 gigabytes of RAM. Obviously with the 16, the game has a little bit more room to breathe. It maybe that gives us a little less 0.1% and 0.01% drops. I'm just speculating without really measuring the numbers, but it seems a tiny bit more smoother when it comes to the gameplay. And yeah, I mean, it's I've seen results with other configurations where the difference between 8 single channel and 16 dual channel is just massive. I definitely did not notice that here. Seems more balanced, seems fine, even with 8, even with 16, not a big difference. Again, pretty impressive. $499 for this predefined HP gaming desktop. I think it's excellent price, and whoever got a chance to grab one of those when they were on sale, a couple weeks ago, around beginning of December and end of November. I think you made a pretty good decision, especially for the people that really don't want to spend the time to build a computer on their own, go around, research parts, buy parts from different retailers and do all that legwork. Not everybody is a computer enthusiast, like myself and some of you guys. Some people just want the convenience to get a computer and play without anything additional. So I think they're not going to be disappointed with this one, at least for a little while, when they get used to it, and then they decided to get a better graphics card to deliver more FPS and more visual pleasure. So stick with this one for now. Great buy in my opinion, and I would recommend this for anybody to see it for this price. Go ahead and grab it, and this is going to be for now, guys. I will catch you on the next one. All right, now that we're done with the testing, let's summarize real quick. And what can I say? I'm absolutely impressed of what you get for $499. A lot of people are bashing this card when it came out, and really, if you have to buy a graphics card right now, and if you're looking for something on the budget and you have some money, don't go out there and buy this card brand new, because there are a lot more options on the secondary market you can get for a lot better prices, or collect a little bit more money and then get something better like 1660 Super or 1660 Ti. But if you're getting it in this kind of a pre-built configuration like the one from HP, I've seen it in many other ones from Dell, from Lenovo, but they were a lot more expensive. $499 for this specific one is perfect. If you're getting it like this, you're not going to be disappointed, at least for a while. It's not going to be a struggle. You're not going to be frustrated with frames. You can just tone down the settings on your graphics, on your inside games, and you're going to be good to go. Further down the line, sell it for around $100, add some more, get yourself a 1660 Super or 1660 Ti or something else that supports that specific power supply with only 8 pins for the PCI Express. But I digress. Again, I'm very impressed for $499. I cannot stress enough how great of a deal that is. And next testing will be done. I'm gonna add 1660 Super and I'm gonna add 1660 Ti, and we're gonna run the tests again and see how much difference we're gonna have combining these better graphics cards with this same configuration, with the exact same processor, exact same RAM, everything the same. The only thing we are changing is adding these better graphics cards. My expectations, it will be a lot better because they're almost 50% on some games better than the 1650, but again, they're gonna cost you more money. Like I mentioned, if you want to go down that route, you can always sell that 1650 and grab yourself something better. But again, one last time for $499, I think that was a great deal. But just to hint you on some of my next videos, I have even better deals again from HP that came out a week or two later. I think I mentioned in the last video, exactly the same configuration, but with 1660 Ti, which is literally the biggest deal, the killer deal for this season. You're getting a graphics card that's almost $300 and everything else for $499. I mean, no matter how good you are on building and scoping the good deals, you're not going to be able to get that kind of deal for all brand new parts, obviously. But that's it for now, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Stay tuned to the channel. There are a lot more hardware coming, a lot more testing. I'm gonna be running all kinds of tests on that specific computer with all kinds of different video cards, and I have a whole bunch of other ones coming up that I can show you. And until next time, guys, you have a wonderful day.